Okay. Top use cases. Um, we can go through them as just like things in your experience that have been great applications of AI. Um, I don't want to say or, I want to say and. I would love to go through in terms of the various user flows associated with banking.
I am not gonna talk about use cases at all because I don't love use cases. And so I'm gonna start with problems to solve. To me, the most interesting ones are the customer facing ones because I'm a big believer in a bank's role in a customer's life is not just to hold their money, but to fundamentally help them to get to better outcomes. And I believe that the financial institutions that focus on that will be the ones that survive in the long run. So
Mm.
I think kind of a big one I'm seeing is how do you show more relevant content and insights to your customers in a way that allows them to engage with their money and make better decisions about their money and kind of long-term future. I think that's a big one that kind of a lot of banks are aspiring to because they know it drives longer term customer value. I think another big one is how do you make your employees who interface with customers, how do you give them more knowledge and insight about the customers that they're speaking to so that they can better serve them. And so that's everything from your actual financial advisors to kind of employees in a bank branch or people kind of on the phone to a customer to go, okay, what do I need to know about the person I'm speaking to that allows me to serve them as best as I can? Another big one is okay, how do you kind of cut down a lot of the paperwork that a lot of employees need to do? How do you kind of, decrease the risk, the incidence of fraud occurrences that we're seeing? And so I think a lot of those inward facing ones are about how do you kind of take out manual processes? How do you improve efficiency? But then also, how do you kind of make the bank or financial institution more effective? How do you make the machine more effective?
Two examples that jump to mind in this efficiency play. One is Wells. So Wells talked a lot about making it more efficient to leverage data, especially in applications processes. So if you've already given permission for your data and I want to go open a new account, I should not have to enter, my address or other,
Mm,
personal information to move forward in the process because I've already given Wells permission to access that information.
hmm
And then Stripe, they have prioritized a program called Link. It's a one-click checkout, and the way it works is they leverage data on the customer to understand what they already use as their prioritized payments checkouts, as well as demographic and behavioral stuff. So when you get to the checkout, the Stripe doesn't want you to have like 10 different options,
Yeah.
even though they have the function and the capability to give you that. So they actually only present you with a couple options that they think you're going to want to select from, which I thought was a really cool use of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things where it's just so seamless that you don't even think about it. When it works really well, you don't even go like, "Oh, that was a great experience." You just kind of breeze through it. And I think that's kind of typically the hallmark of like a great AI experience where you don't even think this is AI working in the background. It just, you just breeze through it. Yeah.
So here is a devil's advocate. There was a TV boy where he was like, I need a bunch of toy cars. And he ordered $1,000 worth of toy cars because the checkout process in Amazon is just so easy. He just went in, pressed two buttons, and then after that, checkout button was like, there was no friction at all. And he was like, yeah, if I press this button, I know that I'm going to get the thing. And so all that to say that there is a world where it becomes so easy and the reward is so enticing that you
Yeah.
might end up making bad decisions. And if AI is involved in helping you make decisions, then it's not always like neither the builder nor the consumer knows that AI made that mistake because it's non-deterministic. So how do you prevent for that?
No, it's a great question. And I think there was a bank in the UK that actually had a kind of similar challenge where part of like, what made this new easy banking experience was that you didn't have to like put in a code or your fingerprint or face ID every time you open the app. So you could just open the banking app, you'd see your balances. And they recently changed it where you actually need to like authenticate. Part of why is that,
Mm.
people's phones were being stolen and so on, and people's personal data was visible to people who it shouldn't be. And so I do think that there are some instances where you do need to add that friction. especially if it's something that can lead to $1,000 purchase or someone's private information being seen. And so, I don't think everything needs to be as easy as possible. I think we're in a society where kind of people inadvertently demand things to be easier, quicker, simpler. But I do think there are some kind of things that you should add friction to, because adding that friction protects people ultimately.
And I think the long-term argument to support that too is we have a ton of data and research that shows people who trust that the bank has their best interests at heart. And that can happen through application processes. It can happen through added friction that you see as security. It can happen through fraud resolution. All of those points
Mm,
of contact that reinforce that the bank has your financial health as their priority increases retention, stickiness, share of wallet, all of these things that we know everybody cares about. So I think, yeah, just there's a ton of evidence that shows if you're thoughtful in the design process about bringing friction where it's going to be the responsible choice, you'll
mm,
you'll get the payoff.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.